Hi, I'm Chris McCullough, President of the Fort Collins Running Club. On behalf of the club, I'd like to wish you a safe and happy Independence Day and welcome you to this special virtual edition of the FireKracker Elite 5K. While most in-person races and group runs have paused, we have not stopped supporting our local running community through these unprecedented times. We've donated much of the Horsetooth Half Marathon refunds to organizations like the United Way and the Northern Colorado COVID-19 Fund. We've also offered free memberships to essential workers. Additionally, a group of club members have formed an advisory committee to address racial bias and diversity within the club and in the running community as a whole, as we know we can do better. This FireKracker 5K is truly unique. We could not have asked for a more perfect partner than Green Events to put it on. We'd also like to thank Aurea Media for filming the races. And of course, a special thanks to this talented field of elite runners. And so without further ado, please enjoy this special virtual edition of the FireKracker Elite 5K.
I became fascinated with Ironman triathlon over 30 years ago. When I first saw the Hawaii Ironman on television, I was blown away by the athletes' dedication, their commitment, their perseverance, and their ability to overcome. It really fascinated me, and I knew deep down at some point in my life I wanted to complete an Ironman. Since that time, I've completed 20 Ironman races. To succeed in Ironman, you need a high level of self-discipline. The race takes a lot of planning, preparation, perseverance, and I love every aspect of it. I use the same level of attention to detail, the planning, the preparation, and the execution that I would use in an Ironman race that I use for every one of our clients. I've always seen my role as one of being a guide, a trusted resource for others, and I employ those same skills when I talk to my clients. I want to be their trusted guide and their resource. Take all the worry out of their lives so they can focus on getting well.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 2020 FireKracker 5K, coming to you from Fort Collins, Colorado, the 21st edition of the race, the 20th anniversary of the race. Here's the women's field. Brittany Charboneau. Is she the favorite? What a story. 31 years of age, Colorado State grad, 13th recently at the Olympic Trials Marathon, and a big 3-minute POB at the hilly Atlanta course. She's also got an amazing website called thefunnyrunner.com.
Our second pro is Maggie Montoya. She is 25 years old, Baylor grad, now running for the Roots Running Project out of Boulder. She ran a 70:06 half marathon PR at the Houston Half in January.
Third runner, Elvin, Kibet, recently turned American. She comes from a great running family, part of the WCAP program. Her sister, older sister, Hilda, was this World Championship silver medalist in the 5,000 back in 2007 and 2009.
Runner number 4, Janelle Lincks. She was in the midst of a breakout year during this indoor campaign before COVID hit. She was 8th at the USA Indoor Championships in the 3,000 meters in February.
Next runner is defending champion AnnMarie Kirkpatrick. She was also the runner-up in 2018 and 2017. 38 years of age, Fort Collins local, 2:37 marathon PB. Kansas State grad, although she did not run at Kansas State.
And right before we get started, let's introduce ourselves. This is Jonathan Gault from Let'sRun.com. I'm alongside co-founder of Let'sRun.com, Robert Johnson. We're excited, and here we go.
In case you didn't know what happened, this race was recorded not on July 4th. They actually ran, John, you have the date?
It's June 27th. They all got to the course separately. It's a 4-lap race around a mall in Fort Collins, Colorado, the Foothills Mall. And we're going to be seeing different clips of each runner as they pass through the course. They're all synced together so that it's running as if they were in the same race, but obviously they weren't running at the exact same time.
This is going to be exciting, John. Broadcasting history. I'm in Baltimore. You're in Boston. The runners are in Fort Collins. The race has already happened, but we do not know the results. It should be exciting. I want to correct myself. I made a mistake about Elvin Kibet. Her older sister Sylvia was the World Championship silver medalist. I should know that because when I was in Kenya a few years back, she actually took me on some workouts, and that was when Elvin was just starting at Arizona. And Coach Lee told me, look, she was not a runner. I just knew that her sister had made the World Championship silver medal, ran 14:31 for 5,000. So I had a run in front of me, and he offered her a scholarship, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, Robert. It reminds me of Lawley Lalang, another great Arizona runner who really hadn't done much at all before he came over to the States, and then turned out to be a terrific collegian, winning a bunch of NCAA titles. But as you can see, we're just over a minute into the race now. It's being conducted at 5,000 feet in Fort Collins, so times, they're going to be a little on the slower side compared to what you would see for a normal track road race at sea level, but still some pretty decent competition here.
Yeah, I mean, most of these runners are used to altitude. I think the winning time was just over 17 minutes. It's been in the 16s before. Normally it's held in City Park with thousands of spectators. Free beer after the race. Obviously none of that today. But John, it's kind of interesting to think about who is the favorite here. I mean, Brittany Charboneau, I mean, how amazing is she? I mean, I 13th at the Olympic trials, 2:33 with a 3-minute PB. I mean, she's obviously in amazing form. To me, based on that, I would say she or maybe Elvin, Kibet, or Maggie, Montoya. I mean, how do you break down this field?
Well, I think that's the single most impressive performance we've seen from any of these women recently, but that's also over the marathon distance. She might not be 5K ready. As we see early here, Maggie Montoya has actually got out to the early lead. So I kind of tend to think it's going to be Montoya or maybe the veteran AnnMarie Kirkpatrick. She is the defending champion here, and she's had a nice progression. She's a Fort Collins native. She was the runner-up in 2018. She was third in 2017. She was sixth in 2016. So she does have a lot of experience racing in Fort Collins, though not obviously on this particular layout of the course.
Yeah, it's really amazing when I was doing a little bit of research for this race just to see the stories. I mean, the Atlanta Olympic trials people for the marathon did bios of every runner. So anyone who ran that has an amazing bio. But it says when she was a sophomore at Kansas State, Kirkpatrick thought about running on the team, but the coach said, well, you should have to quit her job. So she said, she needed to work to go to college. So that quit the dream. She has 2 kids, and now though she's in the Olympic trials, running really well at 37. Being older than that, I said my body went at 45, but we're seeing so many women now compete at such a high level, into their mid 30s. And even late 30s.
And she's got a pint of beer on the back of her singlet, Robert. So I think, that's obviously going to be a fan favorite move right there. Well, we've got Montoya, looks to be out in front, and I think Kibet maybe in second. It's Kibet or Lincks, I would say. But Montoya is leading the way right now as we approach the mile mark.
John, you're better at following the split screen than I am. I'm going to try. I've done some broadcasting before on ESPN Plus with the Ivy League championships. I generally let my play-by-play guy tell me what's going on. It's always hard for me to look at a monitor and see the race. So,
well, it's a challenge for all of us, but you can see they're just moving past the start icon right now, and Kirkpatrick is in fourth. We've got, I was right with the assessment, Montoya leading, Kibet second, Lincks third, and then back in fifth is Brittany Charboneau, the marathoner. So maybe not quite, 5K sharp at this point.
So my pre-race predictions are not looking good so far, John. But, it's kind of interesting here, John. Elvin Kibet, we're going to see her husband, Shadrach Kipchirchir, who's got to be considered the favorite in the men's race later on. She's run 15:27, 32:22. I was trying to figure out 71:37 and a half. I was like, what does that equate to, in the marathon? And was asking coaching guru John Kellogg of Let'sRun.com, what does that convert to? And he's like, well, I would say that's a 2:32 marathon normally, but now that you have the new shoes, she could be right in the maybe sub 2:30, which is in the range that Charboneau is at, and so there's obviously a lot of talent in this race. Oh, here we go, John. Mile split.
Yeah, we have mile splits, and Maggie Montoya, as expected, she's out in front. She actually has a pretty healthy lead right now, 4:53, which is, at 5,000 feet, that's pretty solid running. Second place is Kibet, 5:02. Then Janelle Lincks, third in 5:07. Kirkpatrick, fourth, 5:22. And then bringing up the rear is Charboneau with a 5:34 first mile. But the question here, the difficulty here is, in a normal 5K, you'd be able to gauge off of other people. You'd be able to sort of try and be relaxed. In this race, they're all running separately, and they don't know what the other athletes have run. So you really have to, more than usual in a road race, walk that fine line between pushing but also not going out too hard. So I think Montoya looks good so far, but will she be able to hold it is the question.
Well, John, when you see a sub-5 split at 5,000 feet of altitude, that makes me very nervous. I mean, she's not from altitude. She's young. She's only 25 years of age. I mean, she's part of the Roots Running Project in Boulder, so she's been at altitude for a short while, but doesn't have the altitude experience of these other runners. When the winning time is expected to be, I would say right around 17 minutes, sub-5 seems quite fast. But, she does... she's got she's run a 70:06 half marathon in Houston in January. So she's pretty much, in the form of her life. I mean, in college, she was a pretty good runner. I think 44th was her best NCAA cross country finish. She just missed the All-American. She did run on the DMR one time, but the only time she made it in track, from what I could tell is, John, she false started in the 3,000. So wants to get that out of her system.
Robert, I remember that race well because it was the first indoor NCAA championships I covered in 2015 in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I was standing right by the 3K start for that race. And I saw her, and it was a clear full start, but it was also just so unfortunate. And you could just see the tears immediately started coming. And it was, I think everyone in the stadium felt so badly for her because full start in a 3K, is it really that big a deal, especially if that's her only NCAA experience?
Well, thankfully I think she had run the DMR the night before, so that was good. She looks good here. I mean, I just think it's really fascinating to see so many of these women finding their groove after college. I mean, Charboneau is such a crazy story. She had never won a race in her life until 2 years ago or something. She'd been running for 14 years. When I looked up, she ran at Colorado State. She's in her 30s now. She wasn't even going to the conference meet. I mean, she was running 2:29 for the 800, 5:25 for the mile. And now she's one of the top 15 marathoners in America. So there's some really just fascinating stories. But, Montoya, John, maybe we should use some of the cliches we see in broadcasts that we hate. If you go down to your local track and look at the leg turnover. But she does look pretty strong so far. You're not seeing any signs here of, distress or anything like that. But because
yeah, her and Kibet have she has a pretty healthy lead over Kibet. They just passed that Gatorade drink station, and then Kibet in turn over Lincks. You can actually see if this was a real race, they would be pretty spread out right now. Doesn't look like she's given up much. She had 9 seconds at the mile, Montoya, and that looked to be about the same deficit or lead on Kibet as they hit the drink station. So far, I think she's still hanging on pretty well, but again, a lot can change over that last mile and a half.
Wonder if we probably are past halfway. I didn't see a halfway mark. Like in the marathon, we have the halfway banner. We need a halfway banner for the 5,000. The 2.5K mark would be good, but
yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to make sense of that. No, I don't think anyone in the world knows. I guess I would be able to make sense of it. You just double the time, but 2,500 isn't like a usual split that you get in one of these races.
But normally, when I'm at Hayward Field or watching a track race, I do try to get the 2,500 meter split. I think it should be a more common thing. But look at Montoya; she looks focused.
Yeah, she's actually beefed her lead up. She's now at 15 seconds over Kibet, and it was only 9 at the mile. So we'll have to wait till we get to the 2 mile split to see if she's the one speeding up or if Kibet's actually slowing down. But she does seem to be in a pretty good spot right here, Maggie Montoya.
And remember, folks, I don't know if we've mentioned this. Bragging rights are not just on the line here. We've got a cash purse prize here. I mean, despite not having thousands of entrants, they found the money for $500 for first, $300 for second, $200 for third. So.
And we have a pass here, Robert, a virtual pass. Brittany Charboneau has passed the defending champ AnnMarie Kirkpatrick for 4th place now.
And we have a 2 mile split.
Yes, Maggie Montoya, her lead has actually extended over Elvin Kibet. She comes through in 10:06, so that's a 5:03 second mile for Montoya. She slowed down slightly, but still, she's actually extended her lead because Kibet has gotten slower. Kibet comes through in 10:23, and then 3rd place is Janelle Lincks back in 10:30. Sorry, 10:23 for Kibet, 10:33 for Janelle Lincks.
Yeah, so if it's 10:06 for 2 miles, John, that would be 4:53, then 5:13. But
5:13, yeah.
But still, maybe I should go to the FireKracker website and find out the course record. I guess it wouldn't be the course record, but the race record, because they're running on a different course. But I looked at the last couple of years, and it was like 16-minute high, 17-minute low. I mean, she could, if she keeps this up, well, I guess she runs another 5:13. It's going to be probably in the low 16-minute range. Really impressive running here.
Yeah, I think the question at this point is not who wins the race, but how fast does Maggie Montoya go? But, as you said, she looks pretty good, and I think she has to be happy, and Coach Richie Hansen has to be happy with how she's running in this race.
It'd be interesting to talk to the runners after the fact. Like, was it hard to focus? I mean, I guess we all do this in practice. You hammer a tempo run or something by yourself, but she just looks great. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's an interesting loop, though. I can't ever remember. We used to run sometimes in a cemetery. We did actually run sometimes in our middle school parking lot. So maybe some of these athletes have similar experiences racing around a parking lot, but usually you're not running nearly this fast. It's sort of, you can imagine it kind of like a big track. The turns are a little bit more gradual, but they run. It's 4 laps and it's a 5K course, so it's kind of just like a big cement track out there.
One thing we haven't talked about, John, is shoe technology. What shoes are the runners wearing? I noticed Kibet's got the new super shoes on.
It looks like Maggie Montoya has some version of the Vaporflies as well. That it's a little hard to tell.
I was going to say this might be the new... Oh, yeah, you're...
Oh, yeah, those are definitely Vaporflies.
You guys gals don't know what we're talking about. Nike's got some new shoes that are significantly faster than other shoes. Other brands are now catching up.
Yeah, they swept the top 4 places, in fact, at the
we haven't really given
men's Olympic marathon trials. But on the women's side, only one of the top 3 was wearing those shoes. And that was Sally Kipyego.
Haven't given that much love to third placer right now, Janelle Lincks, 26-year-old CSU grad, was really running well indoors before COVID hit. 8th at the indoor USATF 3K. In 9:15. She started off at Metro State, a D2 school, where she was 14th in cross country, then transferred to Colorado State, where she was 12th in the steeplechase. It's kind of interesting. Her steeplechase PR is 10 flat, John, .02. So I'm like, she's got to get on a 10 flat barrier. But luckily her 5,000 PR is 15:59.86. So you always see those runners and the barriers are like, they line up. Like it's like 15 flat, 31 flat, stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember Shannon Robery for a while. Her PRs were 2 flat, 4 flat, and 15 flat, right around there. And she finally got under, I think, for all of them. But yeah, Lincks. Oh, Robert, I don't know. Her steeple PR dates from 2017. I don't think she's run one since then. So that might be her permanent PR. We'll see. 9:08
indoors, and that indoors this year for the flat 3,000 is obviously convert to much better than 10,000. 10 flat if she does go back to the steeple.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we're getting close to the finish now, probably about half a mile for our leader, Maggie Montoya. Second place is Elvin Kibet of the Army's World Class Athlete Program. Montoya, actually, she's opened up her stride. She looks pretty good at the moment. Lincks in 3rd, and then we've got Charboneau in 4th, and the defending champion, Kirkpatrick, in 5th. But this has been all Maggie Montoya since about mile 1, Robert.
This is very impressive, John. Think about the production. We've got a truck in the front. We've got drone footage up top. We need to have a drone sponsor. We need to have a car sponsor. Race organizers, we've got to give it to you. This has been very well produced. Whoever did the video editing has made it possible for us to understand what's going on. We hadn't even looked at the video at all to see before we started recording this. Kibet looks a little tired there, John. She's trying again. For all she knows, there's somebody 1 second ahead of her, and there's $200 on the line because between first and second, she doesn't know where the other competitors are.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is if you're in second place in a road race like this.
Oh, wow.
You don't always kick it in, but this time you have to. And Maggie Montoya, she's actually sped up for her 3rd mile. She comes through 5:12 at the 3-mile mark, and she is only 0.1 away from victory.
Great running, 4:53, fast start, but then slowed down a little bit, but then kept it steady for miles 2 and 3. Your 2020 FireKracker 5K champion is Maggie Montoya. And not only, John, look at this, she's sprinting it in. Looks fantastic.
Here she comes to the finish line. This is going to be, you said 17 minutes. 15:51 for Maggie Montoya. That's a fantastic run at this elevation.
Is this course USATF certified, John? That was amazing. Really good. I said after mile 2, I would be right around 16 minutes. If she...
Oh, Kibet has picked it up significantly, though. She's at 5:02 for her third mile. Lincks now 5:07. They're actually fairly close here, battling it out for second. Kibet is slightly ahead.
This is going to come down to the wire here for second and third. And remember, the cash differential, I guess it's only $100 between second and third. $300 for second, $200 for third.
Hey, that's a couple extra nice steaks on a 4th of July barbecue, Robert. Elvin Kibet, she grabs it, second place, 16:30. Janelle Lincks will come in just behind. She's finishing up now. 16:41 officially for Janelle Lincks in third. But that is, I mean, the story of the day here, Robert, definitely Maggie Montoya, 15:51 for the winning time.
I mean, that is really impressive at 5,000 feet of altitude. Like think about that, John. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, her PR is 15:38 at sea level. To run 15:51 in a parking lot at 5,000 feet is remarkable. I mean, she's probably in close to low 15 minute shape right now. I mean, with a performance like that, you've got to think she's possibly able to get the Olympic standard in that event.
Yep. And we've got Charboneau crossing in fourth, so we've only got one woman left on the virtual course right now. It's AnnMarie Kirkpatrick. There were actually a couple other athletes in this race, but we're only showing you the top 5 here in the FireKracker 5K.
Yep, Charboneau, I talked her up, but I'm going to be gone for July 4th. I want to check out the funnyrunner.com. And then defending champion AnnMarie Kirkpatrick, I mean, she's done so well here in this race in the past, ending in 5th and around 17:48. So, John, what do you think? Our first virtual 5,000 that we've ever commentated on or watched. I thought it was pretty amazing. I thought the drone footage was amazing. I thought the stories behind these women. I mean, at Let's Run, we're often focused on the Olympians and stuff like these. These are the Olympic dreamers. This is what Let's Run started about. But there's so many interesting storylines to talk about. But the performance of the day, I mean, we were talking about stories. I was wondering if there was going to be any actual action to really get excited about. But Maggie Montoya, to me, was incredibly impressive.
I absolutely agree, Robert. It was fun to track and watch, and it was just nice to wonder, is this person gone out too fast? That's the sort of thing we usually talk about in these road races. Can they hang on? We had that discussion, and then Maggie Montoya, absolutely fantastic performance, and hopefully a nice way for everyone to start off that July 4th weekend.
Great stuff, and we'll see the men's race shortly.
Running is awesome, and running with this group is even more awesome.
Welcome everyone to the 2020 FireKracker 5K, a special edition, a virtual edition. This race took place on June 27th, but we're commentating live. We don't know the results. It's going to be a great one. The first competitor is going to be Frank Lara, the 24-year-old from Roots Running. Has been on fire earlier before COVID hit. 61:50 half marathon PR in Houston. He was second at the USAT 15 championships. The Furman product has been having a great 2020 so far.
Next competitor we're introducing is Eric Hamer. He was on track to run the NCAA Indoor Championships before the coronavirus canceled that meet. He is the Colorado State school record holder in the indoor 5,000 meters at 13:40.
And you might think Hamer's the favorite, but no, it's got to be Shadrach Kipchirchir, the 31-year-old Olympian sponsored from Nike, trains with Scott Simmons American Distance Project in Colorado Springs. He's been second at the USA Championships in the 10,000 each of the last 4 years. Also was the second in the NCAA 10,000 championships back in college.
The next competitor will be no stranger to Kipchirchir because they were teammates in college as part of Oklahoma State's 2012 NCAA cross-country title team. It is Goma Machezo.
And the next guy is another Colorado State grad, Jerrell Mock, the defending champion. He was second in this race also in 2018. He's just recently signed a contract with the BAA, but he's been training as part of Siemers Dreamers. Art Siemers, the great Colorado State coach. it looks like they're off, John.
They are, and we should introduce ourselves as well. This is Jonathan Gault from Let'sRun.com. I'm joined by my boss, Robert Johnson of Let'sRun.com. We had the women's races as well, and we've got the men going on now, and should be a good one. Good way to celebrate the 4th of July.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, I try to get all in the first 15 seconds, but normally this race is at at City Park around Sheldon Lake for the elite race. This year it's at the Foothills Mall. All these runners went out to the mall on June 27th. They ran the race separately, so they have no idea what the other competitors done. The great video people, you're going to see some amazing video. Filming people, you can see who's ahead virtually, but they don't know who's ahead. We don't know who's ahead. This is the first time we've seen it. It's the first time you've seen it. Should be exciting. But John, when you break down this race, I mean, is there any way that Kibet is not the favorite? I mean, not only is he an Olympian, a 4-time USA runner-up, but also earlier this year he was in great form. 13:08 for 5,000 indoors. That's the fastest anyone in the entire world has run for 5,000 all year long.
Yeah, you look at that time, you have to think he's the favorite. He does train up at altitude in Colorado Springs. I'm not going to totally overlook Eric Hamer, who was in very good form before the NCAA season was suspended. And I think, Frank Lara was actually running terrifically on the roads. 61:50 half marathon PR in Houston back in January. He finished second at the USATF 15K champs in March. He's also trains at altitude in Boulder, but I mean, based on the totality of their accomplishments, and especially that 13:08 back in Boston, you'd have to think Kibet is the favorite here.
Yeah, and we're only less than 2 minutes in. He's already got a 3-second lead. He's really hammering out to the start. The Achilles heel might be if this was an actual race with a kick. He might lose out on that because he's been second at USA's 4 times, second at NCAAs in college. He's sort of the Salisi Sahin of the U.S. circuit, always getting the silver medal instead of the gold medal. But you talked about Hamer. He missed he is going to go back to Colorado State for the 6th year. What a stud in high school. Colorado State, they've got a great program. I mean, Arch Siemers has really built them up. 26th at NCAAs, then 19th, then 17th, then 9th, and you're going to see 3 of the guys that really led that resurgence. But Hamer was a blue chip recruit, unlike some of the other recruits. 858 guy in high school, I think top 5 at NXN in high school, and has really helped build that program up.
Yeah, and you can see he's repping the Colorado State, the green and white, on his singlet out there today.
It'll be interesting, John, to see how all these people are accustomed to altitude, but the Colorado State guys, I'm sure that there's bragging rights there. Training under the same coach, been teammates for so long. Not all exactly the same age, but there's always an interesting dynamic. Like, you want to help your teammates in practice, but then beat them in the races.
Yeah, and we should mention, of the 5 guys, the top 5 that we're showing you, there were a couple other guys who did run. Grant Fischer, I believe, was one of them, who's also at Colorado State. 4 of the 5 of these guys were teammates, because Machezo and Kibet were teammates at Oklahoma State, and then Hamer and Mark at Colorado State. And right now, as expected, we're a little bit past half a mile. Kibet has the early lead over Frank Lara in second, 3-second gap right there, and then Machezo, Hamer, and Mock.
Yep. Mock's in 5th right now, but he's really found his niche after graduation in the marathon. I mean, he ran 2:10:37 in Chicago last, when was that, October. Really went into the Olympic trials as the 6th best seed, which was, a very big surprise. I mean, he was good in college, but not a superstar. I mean, his last year at Colorado State, he didn't make NCAAs in the 10,000, was only 169th in the NCAA cross country in 2017. Never finished higher than 10th in the track, but entered the Olympic trials as the 6th seed. Unfortunately, injury forced him to drop out at the 16th mile there. So, may not be in tip-top form right here, but we'll see what's going on.
4:20, I believe, for Kibet at the mile, and then Lara just behind at 4:23, Machezo 4:24. So pretty quick. Remember, this is at 5,000 feet in Fort Collins.
That's super quick. I mean, 420, multiply that by 3, you're going to get to 13 minutes. Add about 30 seconds, you're going to get 13:30, 13:40 at altitude. I mean, the NCAA altitude conversion for 5,000 feet is worth about 25 seconds, a little bit less. So, that's an exceptional time. But then again, he is a 13:08 runner. So, not a surprise that Shadrach Kipchirchir is hammering this one early.
Yeah, and he's lived most of his life at altitude. Obviously, born in Kenya, came over to the United States for college. Now, when he was in college, started out at Western Kentucky and then Oklahoma State. So, those few years were at sea level. But for most of his professional career and early in his life, when he started running, he was at altitude. So probably, but all of these guys train at altitude at some point in their life. They're now based at altitude. It'll probably not affect them as much as a guy coming up from sea level, but still, 420 is pretty fast even at sea level, so that's a pretty fast start for Kipchirchir.
But you got to give it to Lara. I mean, he's only 3 seconds back. He only a 13:56 guy. I mean, 13:56, 28:47. His best in-state finish on the track was just 15th. So to see him staying close to one of the world's best 5,000 meter runners is very impressive here early.
Yeah, and the tough thing about this, Robert, we mentioned this in the women's broadcast as well, is that normally you have someone to key off, and this one you just don't know. I mean, if you're Frank Lara, you got to think Shadrach Kipchirchir is out there running pretty darn fast because you just have no idea. These guys, they don't know how fast the other ones ran. They're all running the course separately on the same day, so it's going to be pretty similar conditions, but they're not going to have an idea of how fast they need to be pushing, and it's a very delicate balance to strike between making sure you're fast enough to be in contention, but not so fast that you go out too hard and totally, fall apart the last mile.
Yeah, but Kipchirchir has got the Nike super shoes on, the Vaporfly, next percent, as does Lara. Interesting to see Machezo John in third. I mean, he really, he's 32-year-old. He's hasn't done a lot in recent years. I mean, he's got the 13:34, 27:52 PRs, but really, if you look at his recent results, hadn't done much. Maybe 25th in 2019 USA Cross Country would be his best result. So, it's a little surprising to me that he's running so well here, halfway through this race.
Robert, looking at their form right now, I mean, Lara looks pretty strong. I think Kipchirchir looks like he might be struggling a little bit. I mean, how do you... Oh, I guess I didn't see that hurt on Lara's face. His little sign of fatigue may be showing. Who looks good to you right now?
Can take a close look here. I think Lara looks pretty strong. I mean, 420, when you haven't raced in a while, maybe a bit much. So we saw it in the women's race, super fast first mile, back off in the second mile, and then regroup and hammer home on the third mile. So we'll see if Kipchirchir does that. But if he does give up the lead, it would be a little bit concerning to me.
And Robert, things are heating up in this race. Kipchirchir still in the lead, but Frank Lara only half a second behind, and then Machezo third is only half a second behind Lara. So the top three, it's really as if they are all running in a virtual pack right now, right at the just past the halfway mark.
And imagine that the runners themselves are probably watching this race on July 4th, just as the fans are thinking, oh my God, am I going to win it? Pretty exciting to see them that close. And folks, it's not just bragging rights. We've got cash prizes here, $500 for first, $300 for second, $200 for third. So really super tight up front for the top three. And we just hit the 2 mile split, 8:58 for Kipchirchir. So he was 4:20 and then 4:38. So a huge slowdown there on the second mile.
Yep, Lara comes through 8:59 and then Machezo 9 flat. So very, very tight with just over a mile to run here. I don't know. I would have to say I think Machezo doesn't. I think I would say Lara looks a bit better than Machezo right now, but Kipchirchir, it's going to come down to a kick like it often does for him in these big races. We'll see what he has left.
Yeah, he got a habit of finishing second And, looking at 4th and 5th, you've got the Colorado straight bragging rights on the line. Mock is 5 seconds ahead of Hammer. Mock is probably thinking, hey, I wish this was 26.2 miles, not just 3.1.
Absolutely.
Looking at Chesso looks pretty calm on the face. Next time that we get a close-up, I'm going to take a close look at my screen. I don't have the biggest screen today. Shout out to Tracksmith. That's what Laura's wearing there. College buddy of my brother's. Matt Taylor's the CEO of the company. Apparel.
Yeah, Rob, we got to remind them they're running. This is not a traditional running route. Usually they do at the FireKracker 5K. They have a small loop course so that the fans can watch the elite athletes. It's not exactly the same this year because they're just running loops around a shopping mall recently because of COVID. But it's sort of like an oversized track if you want to think about it that way.
Yep, and then the women's race, the 3rd mile was much faster than expected. It'll be interesting to see, if that happens here. I mean, we were 9 flat, so are we going to get another 4:30 mile and then be right around 14 minutes for the winning time, or are we going to be under 14 minutes? I would be surprised if somebody broke 14, but based on the way the women's race actually, you would kind of expect it. But considering that they're 9 flat for 2 miles, I say they're just going to be just over 14 minutes. But the women picked it up for the 3rd mile.
Yeah, I would think the 3rd mile, I would think it's certainly faster than the 2nd mile. It's hard to get a little, know exactly how fast they're going right now, but I would expect they'd pick it up from what they ran for the 2nd mile. And still got a close race here. Kipchirchir, Lara, and Macheso, they're the clear top 3. So the 2 Colorado State grads not doing their best today, though granted, Jerrell Mock is more of a marathoner type.
Well, but also I think, John, the pace is much faster than it's been in recent years. If you look at the last 5 years, winning times, 14:25, 14:15, 14:40, 14:30, 14:43. We're going to destroy that today. So, Kipchirchir's lead is now up to 2 seconds. So he's definitely sweating pretty hard, but still has never given up that lead. Got out to the fast start. And it's still going, but there's Macheso, not giving up, 3 seconds back. Kind of shaking his head no. Come on, Macheso, you're only 3 seconds down. You can do it.
You got to give credit to Frank Lara as well. I mean, this is not a guy. If you told me a year ago he'd be duking it out with Shadrach Kipchirchir in the final mile of a 5K, and they're going pretty fast, I would have been very surprised. But he's made some really nice progress under Roots running. And, even though this is a virtual event, if he being within 2 seconds of Kipchirchir, almost kicking it out for the win here, you got to be pretty impressed with that run. And the
incredible. Only 83rd is best NCAA finish. I mean, he was a Foot Locker finalist in high school. Actually went to the same high school as sprint star Matthew Bowling, straight Jesuit down in Houston. But yeah, he's having a great. I mean, it's not inconceivable to think that he's going to break his 5,000 PR here at 5,000 feet of altitude, 13:56. I don't think we're quite going to see that. Probably down here into the final minute of the race. Kipchirchir's looking at his watch, pushing hard, but really, Lord, I mean, the beard maybe can hide his facial expressions, but he doesn't seem to be hurting. He seems to be going strong. Looks like a dump truck. John, look at that. He had to run around. That's is that Hamer? That someone had to run around a dump truck there. Had to slow down.
Jerrell Mock, I think, right there in the yellow. Or looks like Jerrell Mock in the yellow.
Oh, Kipchirchir's he's like, where is that finish line? I've got to be close. There's the 3 mile mark, 13:37. So he's definitely slowing down there. 13:41. He's got about a 4 second lead. So you would think that would be good enough for Kipchirchir, but he wants that finish line. He wants to get there as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be Lara's gap. The gap is now 3 seconds behind Kipchirchir, so it does look like Kipchirchir is going to have enough to pull it out in a kick. Macheso another 3 seconds back, and now you can really see Kipchirchir starting to open up his stride. He is looking pretty good.
14:04. He destroys the times from recent years. Impressive win, but how about Frank Lara? 14:10 at altitude when your PR is 13:56. That's incredible. And Jeremy Macheso, 14:14 for third. Quite impressive as well, considering that he has not done a whole lot, in recent years. And
that time would have won the race last year, Robert. So that's really the top three really came out to play. And I think this format, as you see, Jerrell Mock finishes fourth in 14:28, and then Eric Hamer bringing up the rear in 14:34. I think those are still very impressive times for fourth and fifth at altitude, and I think you really see that this format of not knowing what the other guys are running and having to just go out there and hammer brought out the best in, I would say, all 5 athletes today.
Yeah, I don't understand. I definitely think that, Kibet, he's one of the world's best. He's happy. He wanted to get the win. He did. Probably kind of a hard way to do it. I bet he's a little bit surprised at how much he was hurting at the end, considering he was slowing down. You saw him glancing at his watch. But at the end, hey, when you get the victory, you can't be complaining too much. And then Laura's got to be absolutely thrilled with that. I mean, he had shown before COVID that he was in the form of his life. That continues. And then Machesso seems to be resurgent. Hamer, hey, the good news is, you're running in line with what the other Colorado State guys have run on this course in recent years, and you get an extra year. So you get a 6th year of NCAA eligibility next year, which should be fun. And then, Mock, hey, you're the defending champion. To finish 5th this year, probably not thrilled with that, but it's still a pretty solid time.
Yeah, I'd say for Hamer as well, you don't know what kind of point in his training. He's not a pro. He was planning on running an outdoor season. What has his training been like the last few years? I guess that's a question for the last few months. It's a question for all of them, but I think especially for a guy who may have a cross-country season coming up in the fall. But that is going to do it for the men's race here at the FireKracker 5K from Fort Collins. Congratulations to Shadrach Kipchirchir on the victory. Had a lot of fun calling it, and be sure to spend a little time on Let'sRun.com this weekend, checking out our website as well. But we enjoyed doing the commentary for you here.
Yeah, it's been great. And if you haven't watched the women's race, be sure to check that out. A lot of great storylines in that one as well.